Greetings, Grayscale fans, I'm Chevalier, and I'm glad to have you with me in, well, I guess it should be a small rant about the modifiers, not rant, a small talk about the modifiers of the voting criteria for becoming a HRE Emperor and for Imperial Authority as well. So those two modifiers. This talk originated, I guess, during the talk about how you should become the HRE Emperor, simply because if you understand these modifiers, you're gonna be able to play the votes for the HRE Emperor basically on the edge, so you don't have to waste that much time improving relations or trying to get alliances with possible electors. Now I'm gonna switch between this and the wiki at the same time, simply because it allows you to see visually the modifiers. I could also go in middle of into the files as well. Again, it depends. It's better for me to go to the wiki simply because they are all lined up there. There are some explanations. You can go and check the wiki yourself, but it's just gonna be a talk about how you should actually maximize those modifiers. So I'll go to here actually. I'll see this, and right now I'm gonna actually switch to the, let's see, we need to capture off and switch to this. So you have the HRE voting criteria right now. As you can see here, the first one is the current opinion. Basically from -200 to +200 is pretty much high. So if you have 200 opinion, you're most likely gonna get a vote if you're part of the HRE. If you're not part of the HRE, some other modifiers are gonna come in, and it's gonna be quite difficult. Now you have -50 to +50 from legitimacy here. Again, try to get your legitimacy up. It's bad if you have no heirs, and you might actually get a local noble. It's gonna be really crap, so try to be on the lookout for this. You have prestige as well, from -25 to +25. This again is gonna help you. If you have prestige up, try to make sure that you have the right events for prestige, or try to fight as many battles or wars as much as possible. Imperial Authority, here for the current Emperor, of course. This is a little bit more tricky in how you should use it. Usually it's best if you actually take a reform for the HRE during when a new leader is elected, or if that leader is young, for example, so that you'll get the authority up as well. That will simply cause you to basically always have, let's say, +20 or +30 Imperial Authority. That's gonna give you a little bit more oomph in the elector, in how should I call it, in the rating that the electors give you for the Emperor. You have +30 for an alliance. You have +10 for marriage, pretty simple. You have -25 if you are a one province minor. Also, if you are one province minor, part of the HRE. Right, part of the HRE. I don't think it's actually factored into the... No, it's just part of the HRE actually, no. I never tried it, to be honest. But still, it doesn't matter. If you're a one province minor, it's gonna be highly impossible, so it's just part of the HRE. If you're, let's say, I don't know, one province minor, Navarra. There you go, if you're Navarra, let's actually show you on the map if you don't know where Navarra is. No, it's fine. If Navarra is here. So you're trying to go for the HRE electorship. Actually, tag nav. Let's see. See, it's not a -25 for being OPM. If you actually switch to, no, Salzburg cannot become because it's a picture rip. Let's say I need a kingdom. Free City of Bremen, Duchy of Lunenburg. Hopefully I know the tag for Lunenburg. Tag Lund. Yes, Lunenburg. Let's see, do we have the modifiers? Yes, too small of an issue. See? So for Navarra, because it's out of the HRE, it doesn't count, but for a nation that is part of the HRE, it does count. Just so that you actually know. Now let's go back. +25 and +50 for being sufficiently large and a HRE member. So basically you have to be part of the HRE for this to happen. As for the specifics of how much base tax you should have, let it be noted that should be over 200 for the +50. Also that your lands should be part of the HRE as well. So if you actually own lands that are not part of the HRE, it's not gonna happen. We have the +5 from the same culture group. You have -50 for being a heretic religion, a different branch of Christianity. This is only possible if, what should it be called? If the religious wars happened and it was a truce and nobody actually won, and any Christian can become the emperor, that is the -50. Usually, for the first part of the game, only only Catholics can become the HRE emperor. Then, if the Protestants win, they can be Protestants or Reformed. And if there's a truce, everybody can become, even Orthodoxes or Coptics, etc. Now, we have the +50 for subject electors toward their overworld. So basically, if you go for the military way and you vassalize somebody, they're gonna give you +50 because you're their overlord. Sorry. This is again standard. This also counts for what's called for personal unions. So with Austria, let's tag hab. If Austria gets a P over Bohemia, Bohemia is gonna vote for them most likely. Usually at some point it's previously, not in dispatches. Usually if you're Austria, you would have won the HRE electorship by just having a P over Bohemia, and would have just won it with no actual problems. Now, you have -50 for being for independent electors towards a candidate with electoral subjects. So basically that's stacks. So basically, if I have Bohemia in a PU, right? Saxony is gonna hate me. He's gonna have -50 and he's not gonna want to vote for me, right? Same goes for Brandenburg and every elector. So he's gonna have -50 and he's gonna have -100 if I have two of these vassals. Just so you do not, it stacks. Right, and now we have the trust, -20 to +20 trust at oh, we forgot about this. Basically, if you have trust, it's gonna go up and down. For example, actually I cannot do anything right here because I don't have enough trust and I don't know the code for trust, unfortunately. But yeah, it's gonna factor into some degree, though it's at 0. I don't know if it discounts anymore though. I tried it before and doesn't count anymore towards the votes. But yeah, it should count. I mean, they should have killed it from the wiki at some point if it doesn't count. You have the -50 for being for not being a HRE member, as you can see, like Byzantium, as it says here, or I don't know, France, England, any of the sort. But usually, if you're a good player and you follow my strategy with the what's it called, with the diplomatic way, with the theocracies, you should probably get it. So don't worry about the minus for the -50. You have +200 by being the leader of the religious league, so maybe in the 1550s. Sorry, god damn it. In the 1550s, god damn it, I almost choked myself to death. In the 1550s, actually, let's say the 1600s, perhaps close to the 1600s. You are gonna have the religious leagues, and there's gonna be a war. A religious war between the Protestants, the Reformers versus the Catholics, basically, and they might join. Somebody might join, depending on who's the current emperor. For example, if France rivaled Austria, France might join on the side of the Protestants so that he can beat the HRE elector, the HRE emperor, because he's rival to it. So it doesn't matter on the religious that much. It also matters on the attacks, the relations between the emperor and the other nations, basically. Again, -200 for being the member of the opposing religious league. So basically, Austria is the HRE emperor, and oh, it was fine. So Austria is the HRE emperor, and Bohemia is the leader of the Protestant League. They usually are the leader of the Protestant League. So Bohemia, Brandenburg is gonna vote for Bohemia because they're gonna be part of that league as well. And I'm gonna have -200 with Bohemia, with Brandenburg, because they're part of that religious league. So it's gonna divide the empire even more into more sides as well. Now, you have +10 for positive diplomatic reputation, and -5 for negative diplomatic reputation, pretty standard. You can increase this up even more, so you can get more of those stats. That's why it's good to go for influence or diplomatic as the HRE leader, as Austria, for example, so you can get more of those points. At some point, if you're Austria, if you have influence and your national ideas, it's usually you're gonna have a huge amount of diplomatic reputation, around like 5 or 6 perhaps, even with some events, and you're just gonna be able to win the leadership just from the diplomatic reputation. And you have -200 if you're at war with the candidate. This is of course a severe, as I said, this is a severe, but doesn't automatically disqualify you. Let's say for example, if I switch back here, Denmark is allied with Brandenburg, and I'm the HRE elect. Austria is the HRE emperor, and they attack Stad, right? So Denmark attacks Stad. They want to take Stad, but Brandenburg is gonna get the -100 because I'm at war, but it's gonna get a +100 due to the relations, because once you defend the empire, you're gonna get +100 relations because you defended the empire. So you're gonna skyrocket in the relations, so it's still gonna be doable. The last one, if ineligible, so let's say -1000. So if you're a non-monarchy, if you're a female candidate before the pragmatic sanction, not Christian or not independent, right? So this is quite simple. So if you are a non-monarchy, so theocracies, what's called merchants, basically, not a Christian. So if you are Muslim, for example, and you're not independent, that does count. And female candidate as well before the pragmatic sanction. Now the pragmatic sanction, if you look here, you do not have it. You must have a female heir for it to pop up, but you can actually take the decision here for a pragmatic sanction. Before, it was an event that happened, it wasn't a decision, but now it's a decision, if I'm not mistaken. So you can take the decision. You're gonna lose some stability or some relations with somebody. I haven't played the HRE in a long time. The HRE, no, not played the HRE. I didn't have the pragmatic sanction in quite a while, and you're gonna be able to take the decision, and you're gonna be able to have female heirs, and it's gonna be available for the rest of the campaign as well. Now, this is all for the voting criteria. Now, there's everything here for the voting criteria. Try to use them as much as possible. The strategy that I told you before, it allows you the theocracy and the lack of the +10 for royal marriage, and the -25 because you're gonna only get up to 175. So that is gonna help you. Also, remember that getting the relations up is not only done by this thing here. For example, by just improving or getting, let's say, royal marriage, etc., can also be improved by here, by proclaiming a guarantee, by economic actions, by transferring trade power. You're gonna get power from those guys as well. So actually, they should be available here. No, they're not, right? No, they're not. So it should be part of the relation stuff. There we go, for the pragmatic sanction. So it's a decision, as you can see. But yeah, it's not part here. Oh, there you go, it's here. So, oh, that's for alliances, so no. Really? As for the imperial reforms, no, there's not. So yeah, there's I think that says, so it's about relations. That's how you can get relations up to 200, for example. So, proclaim a guarantee +10. You have the alliance +50, royal marriage +25. That gives you the relations. You have the defending the empire +100. You can also, if you go to emperor actions, you can actually bestow imperial grace at the cost of 1 of your imperial authority. You're gonna bestow an imperial grace on Bavaria, and you're gonna get 40. See, improve relations. 31, so they're gonna get improved relations plus 40. You can do that as well. If you are low, for example, with somebody, or you want somebody to, for example, to vote for reform, and that can be done as well. As the other things that can give you on plus, they can give you plus stuff. There's the transfer trade power as well. There's the defended or borders. So basically, if you defend their borders when they're rebels, if you siege those lands back and kill those rebels with your armies, you're gonna get modifiers there for reputation, for relations. You have the military access, offer military access plus 10. That's gonna give you some bonus as well. This is gonna give you prestige. Yeah, this is gonna give you prestige, so there's nothing you can do there. And that is about it. There's a little bit more modifiers, to be honest, but usually as the current HRE Emperor, just getting an alliance is doable. As with the diplomatic way, just getting alliances and royal marriage, etc. is gonna get you up to the necessary amount. The only reason that you actually have the malus and you want to use those modifiers is simply when you have lots of aggressive expansion, for example, and you're gonna get tons of negative modifiers from that side, so you want to boost that up. But usually it's not necessary if you're careful enough with how you expand as the HRE Emperor. Of course, if you're playing as, let's say, I don't know, Taltmond, like I play in the no-name Irish campaign here, play with Taltmond and then become the HRE Emperor at some point, I gain a huge amount of aggressive expansion, and Cologne, Trier and Mainz stopped voting for me, and I had to really boost up the relations up to 200. Again, it's possible to do that kind of stuff. Now let's go back here and talk a little bit about the the reforms. Really, yeah, voting criteria, the imperial authority, basically. That is very nice to know, basically. So the imperial authority used to pass reforms in the empire. It's pretty simple. So you change, you get modifiers depending on this. So basically, if you maintain an imperial crown to leaders, basically to kings, you're gonna get plus 10 for. So basically, you die, your heir becomes the new emperor, so you get plus 10 imperial authority. Plus 1 from each province added to the empire. Basically, in order to do this, as I said here, you have to be the province has to be Christian. It has to be a core. And has to be directly connected via land border or share a sea tile with the imperial province. As you can see here, if I actually show you this, for example, Ancona can be added to the empire, right? Dalmatia can be added to the empire at this point, but Ragusa cannot be added to the empire, right? Because they do not share a sea border. Stuff like that. Quite simple. We have plus 0.10 monthly if there are not any internal wars in the empire. So basically you want to try to make sure that there are no wars, because you're gonna get a decent amount of imperial authority. You have the plus 0.005 for every free city in the empire, with there are a maximum of 7 free cities in the empire, so you're gonna gain 0.35 per year per month. And you have 0.004 for every prince in the kingdom in the empire over 25. Currently, I don't know if it actually shows. There are 57 princes, and you gain 0.12. See, per month, because you have over that number. Oh, 8 free cities, not 7. Oh, was that changed? Oh yeah, so there's 8 free cities. Oh, there are 7 electors, my bad. So 8 free cities and 7 electors, my bad. So you have minus 0.05 for every province owned by the country not in the empire. So basically this also applies under, as you can see here, the provinces under the suzerainty of non-HRE members. So provinces needing a PU over with Lorraine, Holstein in a vestige to Denmark, etc. So that also counts, especially bad with Burgundy, because Burgundy actually owns this, has a PU over several HRE members and owns several HRE lands as well. Holstein again It's a vassal under Denmark, and the province has a PU over Lorraine and owns Barrow as well. And of course, the Teutons all own Denmark, and that is bad as well. And that is for those modifiers, and you have -1 for every elector that is a vassal, which is quite bad. That's why I do not recommend going for the military way as well. Just go for the diplomatic way. Of course, this doesn't apply to juniors in PU. You have the -1 for each month if there's less than 7 electors, so that's quite bad as well. -10 for declaring a defensive call to arms from a member being attacked by a foreign nation. Winning a defensive call to arms grants you a huge amount of IA, depending of course, and gives you to boost this with the relations of the HRE members. But it's only available if the defensive war leader negotiates a victory. So I cannot negotiate a separate peace. So I have to wait for that guy to do it. Usually if you're powerful enough, nobody's gonna attack you. But sometimes it's good to feint. For example, to feint weakness by not taking military techs and just waiting for this to go up, and feinting military weakness by having a lesser amount of troops and are reinforcing those troops, having not that many tanks but having poison in reserve, and so this sort of stuff. Being really smart in choosing to be weakened, but again being weakened, but being able to basically instantly attack somebody. For example, I did some cheeky stuff in the Toltman campaign. So I was the HRE Emperor. I was allied with Austria and Castile, and France attacks Austria. Right? They had the Lorraine here, Lotharingen here, and they attacked Austria for Sundago. I was the Emperor. I got called in because I was the Emperor. Although I was called in for a defensive alliance. That's unfortunate. But if they would have attacked, for example, let's say Alsace, basically, I would have been able to call in my allies as well. So, a smart thing that you can do here is simply get an alliance. While the call to arms is available, just get an alliance, get an extra alliance. So basically, I would have. Let me do it simply. I'm Austria, right? Burgundy attacks Liege. I don't have any allies, but if I want to get an alliance with Hungary, they will accept instantly. So while the call of arms is up there, just simply get an alliance with Hungary. You're gonna get instantly more troops, and Burgundy is gonna die faster. I know it's cheeky, I know it's kind of bad, but you sometimes bend the rules, but it works. You can instantly get more allies if you're called in basically. It's also valid if you are called in as a co-belligerent. Remember this. It's valid if you are called in as a co-belligerent as well. Again, it's not cheating, it's bending the rules to your own will. You know, it's not cheating. Cheating was if I enter the code here to get me take 5, take 20, you know. But it's bending the rules and using your available options to best suit your current needs. Now, you have -0.1, 0.01 for every heretical prince. Basically, this includes Orthodox and no Christian religions, and it's halved once the religious peace is proclaimed. Religious peace is happened if there's a truce between the HRE, between the religious leagues, basically the religious leaders, the separate religious leaders of the religious league, basically. So it's in the 1600s, something around that, even earlier, depending on the RNG Jesus. If RNG is on your side, it's gonna happen a little bit later. You're gonna have a little bit more time. Although, let it be noted that it should happen. How should I put it like this? I once played that as Austria, and I was able to pass reforms by the time the religious leagues happened. I was able to actually pass this, proclaim the Excrambist. I cannot pronounce it, so it's gonna be a religious peace treaty, so the HRE is also gonna be held by the same country. Again, I was able to pass this, then get over to here by the 1550s. It's a little bit tricky to do this. You're gonna have to release some nations. Again, it's doable. It's not convenient. You're gonna lose some base tax, but it's doable. Now, you're gonna get -1 to enforce religious unity on a heretical member of the HRE. So basically, you can actually force him to do this. You get -5 to revoke a free city status. You get -10 if an unknown HRE nation annexes a member of the HRE. And you have the following modifiers for Bohemian traditions, and you have the Austrians Imperial Ambitions +10. Usually it should have been more like +20 or something like that. You have the Imperial Reform, proclaim whatever its name, I cannot pronounce that shit. I don't want to destroy it. You have the 25% from Revoke the Privilegia, and you have 25% from having the modifiers of Catholic Empire or Protestant Empire. Basically not the ledger, the trigger modifiers. So basically you have to become the dominant faith in the Holy Roman Empire, and the Holy Roman Empire has an official unchangeable faith, basically. And they're gonna get some more modifiers here. And that is it for the Imperial Authority gain. Now, there is nothing much to say here. I mean, there are the options. I mean, you're probably already played by this. I should probably talk about the modifiers as well, where I'm at it. I mean, the benefits of being an emperor, if you already don't know it by now, you get a 10% spy network construction, +1 possible advisors, +1 diplomatic relations, +1 leaders without upkeep, +1 yearly prestige, and for every member state you get +0.5 land force limit, 500 manpower. For free city you get +2 tax income, +0.5 land force limit modifier, and +1000 manpower. So again, these modifiers are substantial. If you see here, as Austria, you gain 25,000 from the states part of the HRE and 8,000 from the free cities. Again, looking at this, you get only 10k from your provinces and 10k from the base value. So that's 20k, and the rest up to 35k, so around 25k, you get from the HRE electorship, from being a HRE member, sorry. Again, this is pretty huge. I mean, look at this. You have almost 500 manpower per month. 500 manpower per month. As Austria, who has, what, 165 development. I mean, look at France. France has something around 400, 350, and they cannot get to this. Let's look at France a little bit. France has 358, and they gain 400. So basically they have double, and you cannot actually reach it when you're a HRE elector. HRE emperor, sorry, not elector. Again, if you are France and you can actually get the HRE electorship and you can get those lands here, it's gonna be golden for you, like all hail France, you know. I mean, if you can do this at France, you're gonna have a huge amount of base tax. I'm not even bother. You're gonna have like 600 base tax or something like that. It's gonna be really huge. Let's go back to, tag hub. Now, let's talk about the options that you can here for the emperor actions. So you can actually remove, actually let's go from here. It's faster. So, princes, electors, where are the decisions? So you can bestow the imperial grace, as said, +14 relations modifier at the cost of -1 imperial authority. You have the proposed imperial reform. So I can actually take a reform. You can get a free city status, you can defend the empire, you can revoke the electorate, you can appoint an elector, you can do an imperial ban, so you get a CB against non-HRE nations that control HRE territory. As you can see here, you have the imperial liberation. This is done against basically HRE members that actually take land from a HRE member. So Bavaria takes over Ansbach. You can actually fight and take Ansbach from Bavaria with a CB. You have the enforced religious unity. As I said before, you can enforce religious unity over a country. You have demand on lawful territory. at the cost of 1 imperial authority. So basically I can how should I do this? Bohemia takes lands from Saxony. They will take those lands. I do not want to fight those lands, and I'll have this option here to demand unlawful territory. It means that as long as if they want to, they have enough opinion with those nations, they're gonna release that nation, or they're gonna give it back to Saxony, for example. But if I don't have enough relations with them and they don't want to do it, I can still request it, but instead of then returning it, they're gonna get malus to what's called to unrest in the nation. They're gonna get a huge amount of unrest, and they're gonna have to fight the rebels most likely. Now, you have the relay election bonus that you get, as I said, that you get if you get re-elected, of course, and that is about it. There's nothing much more to talk about this from the wiki page. Now let me impart some more wisdom regarding the HRE here. These are the qualifications for the nation, basically. From trust, distrust, opinion, threat and attitude, friendly. These are for alliances, basically. Right, for ally attitude as well, for being cordial, basically, or having ally attitude. Pretty much this is the standard stuff. If you leave the HRE, you're gonna remove your provinces. The emperor is gonna lose imperial authority by -1 per province. Pretty standard stuff. The demand unlawful territory is gonna give that modifier, so the unrest, the tax modifier, the manpower modifier, and the local autonomy. So it's easily gonna be screwed if you actually demand unlawful territory. But remember, it's gonna cost you points. So remember it very well. It's gonna cost you points, -1 point. So that is not that great. And that is it. Now let's talk about the reforms. It's better if I talk them about here. So the reforms, as you can see, need support. Basically, support is done by having enough relations, and as you pass more reforms, the electors are not gonna vote for. They're not gonna want those reforms, basically. So you're gonna need more imperial authority or more relations with those electors. So you'll have to improve relations with some electors, some persistent electors, so that they can actually get those reforms. But yeah, let's go over the reforms. So the first one gives you build cost and development cost minus 5% overall, so it's all valid for the emperor and for the members. Now you get for the second one institute or Reichsregiment, so basically gives you +1 diplomat and diplomatic reputation, and the members get -2 national unrest. To reform the Hortgriff, I cannot pronounce this, is gonna give you yearly legitimacy plus 0.5, corporation percent -10%, and the members are gonna get yearly legitimacy. Ignite the Genemir Plefen, this is gonna get you +20 tax income, and it's gonna get the members diplomatic reputation. The what's called Enverg Landfriede is gonna force members to dispute in the court, so basically no internal HRE wars. It's gonna allow you to basically just hold the empire at that state, and it's gonna give you really prestige and technology cost for the members -5%. Now, when you talk about this, before you proclaim this law, make sure that nobody here has any releasable nations. For example, Wolfsburg can actually, Saxony can release Thuringia basically from here, right? So you should probably try to release Thuringia as well, so you can get more points, more manpower, more force limits, etc. So releasing Thuringia is gonna help you. Remember this, try to release Thuringia from those. And there are plenty of nations here that you can actually release. For example, you can release Pisa from here, you can release Corsica from here as well, you can release Parma from this guy. So there are plenty of nations that can be released. You can release Modena from Ferrara. There are plenty of stuff that can be released. Where is it? There are some more. Oh, they got released. Previously, Lübeck had all of these nations here, and you can actually release Bremen, Stade, Hamburg could have released them. But there are plenty of nations that can be released. And also be on the lookout. When somebody gets annexed, so you can just declare war, so that you can release those nations, because honestly you want those nations on your side. basically. You want to have more nations, more princes in the HRE so you can get more points. This is also valid for the strategies, which I'm going to talk about the strategies for the HRE, how you should get more points for Dodge forms soon enough. Now, the next one is basically the proclaim the Kaisertum. I'm just going to say like this. So this is going to give you Imperial authority increased by 25%, and members are going to get your legitimacy plus 0.5. As I said before, they're going to sign the Treaty of Religious Unity. So there's going to be the HRE Emperor can be anybody part of the Christian religion. So basically Orthodox, Coptic, etc., whatever you want. And we have also it's going to be inherited by the same country. This is really good. Means that you're not gonna have any problems with what's it called? With the electors, basically. The last one, revoke the privilegia. It's gonna give you again increase in imperatori plus 25%. The members are gonna get stability cost 24 minus 10%. So basically, this is the one before the last one, basically, and it's gonna allow it's gonna make your all of the HRE members into vassals or leave the empire, and that is gonna give us claims on their lands. So basically, you can they're gonna leave the HRE. It's gonna be a little bit difficult, to be honest. Usually, you don't want anybody. You should have full amount of what's it called for support. Basically, you have to have full support from everybody and try to have 100% imperial authority, basically, so that they will actually all vote for it and all remain in the empire as your vassals. Now the last one is basically unite the states of the empire into your nation state. The Holy Roman Empire is going to become one country, and you're going to have the grayscale skin, the grayscale color, etc. And you're gonna have the same ideas that you had. For example, the Austrian ideas are gonna remain the Austrian ideas, Bohemia is gonna remain the Bohemian ideas, etc. The ideas are not gonna change. Now, let's talk about strategies on how we should gain more imperial authority. This basically constitutes as feeding the HRE Empire to some degree, and is doable as pretty much everywhere, right? So it's doable in Hungary, with Hungary, for example, Hungary here, when you can, for example, take Zagreb from Hungary, release Croatia, then feed the lands from Hungary to Croatia, and they're gonna get this lands here as well. But he's gonna be part of the HRE, etc. Although he's not gonna manually get those lands in the HRE for you to gain imperial authority, you're still gonna get the bonuses from here, from having one more prince. Remember, this has to be part of your own religion, your own, what's it called, not religion, your own, god damn it, I forgot. Your own religion, and it has to be court. So, the way you pull this off is simply by taking a land, coring it, then releasing it as a vassal. By doing this, now we don't have it here, there we go. You can return the province, that is gonna release Tyrol, so basically you're gonna have Tyrol there as a vassal. As an independent HRE prince, and it's gonna give you more imperial authority. Now, as Austria, although it's not recommended to do this at the start, later on when you're stuck and you need more imperial authority, it's recommended that you do this. Not from your own lands, of course, because you have lower autonomy and you're part of your states. So it's not recommended to do this. But from the states from the Burgundian inheritance, it's recommended as well. For example, if we look here, right, you're gonna get Cambrai, right? Cambrai has a court for Hainaut. You're not gonna have it as a state. It's quite annoying to have it as a state. It's gonna take one of those slots. You have to take those lands as well to maximize them. So simply just release them as Hainaut, and you're gonna get one more elected prince. Same goes if you, for example, for Franche-Comté, right? If you get the Burgundian inheritance event, the what's called the France is gonna inherit this lands here, and you're gonna have the franchise command be free. You can actually release franchise command, and they're gonna gain the what's it called? They're gonna gain independence as Burgundy, and Burgundy is gonna exist, and you can actually feed them lands from France. Again, some more cheeky stuff. You can feed lands from this part here as well. Again, they'll fight France for territories as well, so they're gonna feed more lands from France to themselves. It's doable for example, for Champagne here, right? Although you don't want Burgundy to take them. For example, this year Bar might actually attack France and take lands from Champagne. You can actually try to feed the HRE electors, HRE princes basically. And this can be done all over the place, like from Poland, Denmark, Sweden. I once, I'll be honest, I did a campaign, not on the YouTube, a couple of years ago, probably 1 year and a half. I did this solo, right, in a summer. I was bored. I didn't have a job, of course, and I just started doing this, and I fed lands from France and released those vassals. Did England, Scotland as well, Catalonia, Leon, basically the whole of this side here, except for this side here. I couldn't do this. Actually, no, I could do this with Iceland as well. I think I just took them up by myself. It's pretty easy to core, so it's not that important. But I did this here to the whole confines of the HRE Emperorship, basically. Up the way, does it say here? No, it doesn't say here if you can add. Actually, yeah, it's not part, but it doesn't say if you can add. But I did pretty much all the way here, like almost all of the states available that were in in Europe were basically part of the HRE, basically. Like, I had a huge amount of manpower and shit, like, and I had colonies in the New World. Like, I rushed, basically. I rushed Rome. I took this lands here as well, so I went to Rome. Then went over here, took Mallorca, and went all the way to this part here. Really cheeky stuff. Really cute stuff. I actually went for, I can't remember for what I went first. What was it? I think I went for expansion ideas first, or I just saved the slot. Basically, just saved the slot here so I can get the increased coin range. Again, cheeky stuff. Stuff for your own personal achievement. I know people hate grayscale, but you can actually just play around grayscale a lot, and it's really nice if you can pull something up like that. Like, I should probably do a campaign like that, but with the Teutonic campaign coming up, and probably the Ethiopia campaign, I want to play as Ethiopia as well, because they have a new religion stuff and new, what's it called, new technology stuff, basically for the modifiers here. So I'm trying to see how Ethiopia will fare with the technology and the new Coptic religion modifiers, which I somewhat like. But yeah, this was the talk about the HRE Emperorship and how we should pull it off. Basically, it's quite simplistic. There's nothing much to say here. The modifiers are there. You can check the wiki if you want, or you can just watch the video over and over again. It's up to you. I do recommend watching the wiki. They are a lot more scripted. Even going into the files of the game and going through those as well. And some HRE events like the Burgundian Inheritance for the HRE Empire is really good. Like, again, that is a cheat for me. Like the HRE Inheritance, the Burgundian Inheritance on HRE Inheritance, the Burgundian Inheritance. It's something that I aim with every nation in Europe, basically. Like, whenever I play the HRE, the HRE in Europe, and I'm Catholic and I can become the HRE member diplomatically, I'll try to go for the Burgundian Inheritance. Like, there is no reason for me not to do that. It's quite simplistic, and it should really help you. But yeah, also, as another small talk, though it's gonna go quite late, to be honest, you can do this. Basically, every one of these OPMs, for example, if I take over all of this and release the OPMs here, they are gonna increase their base tax. Basically, in my previous campaign a while ago, I had Friesland. As you can see here, he has 16 development. had around 40, 50 development. Like you see huge nations here, especially the free cities basically, like Ulm and Memmingen. They had a huge amount of development, like an extremely huge amount of development basically. Like they were, I won't even say it, like huge. They were huge basically, like 40, 50, 60, like. So the moment you actually inherit those nations, you're gonna have a huge amount of development in the German culture. And as you can see here, the German culture, it's quite, let's say, how should I put it, expanded basically. It's quite expansive, and I think it's, no, the Chinese is the largest one, I think, at least at the start. But yeah, you have a huge amount of development that you're gonna get when you do this. So in multiplayer, I'm not even gonna talk about it. Multiplayer is a cheat if you actually do this. Like, somebody plays as Muscovy and plays Austria, you rush, you basically rush the reforms. With the tricks I told you with releasing stuff, so you can have more imperial authority. You rush the reforms and you go for integration, and you have 2000 development or something like that. It's pretty cheaty. No cheat. You work in the parameters of the game, so there's no cheat here. You just bend the rules to your own designs. But yeah, I'm Chevalier. I hope you enjoyed this. You can actually check the video about becoming the HRE Emperor. Like it was yesterday posted, should be in the playlist as well. And again, I hope you enjoyed this. And if you want to see more of this, check the playlist for the tutorials. And I guess I'll see you in another video. I hope you enjoyed this, guys. I'll see you next time, guys. Oh, guys, gentlemen. I'll see you next time, gentlemen. Or idea, no. Hey, grayscale aficionados. There you go. Grayscale aficionados. I will see you next time. Ciao.